Have you ever lived in a dorm? Or just share a house with random people? Those who have mostly did so during college. Sure, we made good friends and had a blast hanging out together. But boy, the horror stories that come with communal living also showed us the dark side of human nature.
The first thing you notice is the smell.
So, what died in here?
He doesn't seem to notice it.
The idea of living together is to share resources. In today's urban environment, it's space and money. Kuala Lumpur houses nearly 1.8 million in population, and young people are constantly flocking to the city centre for job opportunities. Those starting out in the jobs market are hard-pressed for affordable housing and close proximity to save on transport expenses. So in January, DBKL announced that it will build micro-housing for B40 youth. For this project, the City Council will be repurposing old buildings at Jalan Tuanku Abdul Rahman and offer up to 325 tenants a roof over their heads. The partly furnished units, which can house 3 to 7 people, can be rented at 100 ringgit a month per person. Only single Malaysians aged between 18 to 28, earning 2,000 ringgit or below, and working within the 25 km radius of the facility can apply. And you can sign a tenancy for 1 year or 18 months. After that, you're on your own, because the units must be rotated to benefit more struggling young people. Apart from providing housing facilities, according to KL Mayor Dato' Nur Hisham Ahmad Dahlan, there's a bigger purpose behind this project. He said, hopefully this can inject new life into the city centre, which goes dead after dark, and is often associated with dimly lit streets and drug addicts loitering at the alleyway. When the streets feel safe with good lighting, flowers and proper walkways, people are happy to use public transport. What a brilliant idea! This kills many birds with one stone. But there's just one problem in the equation. Are Malaysians ready to live together? Sharing bathrooms, kitchens, common areas? How confident are we that Malaysians are not perfect, but even just tolerable housemates? Earlier this year, we saw a case of housemate turned Mama Roach. A girl living in Bandar Sunway noticed the increasing number of cockroaches running around the house. As the pest situation escalated, one of her housemates quietly left. So she goes and opens the door to the girl's room, and to her horror, the room was drowning in empty food containers, boxes, dog poop, and you've guessed it, a lot of cockroaches. Alright, fine. That was just one extreme case. But we've got to be honest. Malaysians' track record for civic consciousness is still miles away from the likes of Europe or Japan. Look at what happened to the MRT station when it was brand spanking new. And there's more. Bad parking habits, flicking cigarette butts, using your phones at the cinemas. We can already imagine what it'll look like when these attitudes are being brought into a more private space. In this case, people are renting a co-living space for cheap. And somehow, the perception is that the responsibility level drops from here to here. But never mind DBKL's low-cost micro-housing. Even when private developers try to introduce co-living concepts in our country, which by the way has been very successful overseas, it doesn't matter how luxurious the project is. The confidence level is just as bad. Because it's not how much money we have or even the education level. Malaysians can have the worst kind of mindsets. For example, Malay Mail visited a high-end condominium, Gateway Kiara Mas in Mont Kiara last year, after a spate of people in flats throwing garbage off the upper floors, and in one incident, even killing someone in the process. They wanted to understand why it seems that the people with less money are more prone to have poor civic consciousness. As it turns out, it's not that richer Malaysians are better. They just have better infrastructures, like working lifts, trash rooms on every level, etc. But even then, as Malay Mail pointed out, there are still residents who do things like leave their trash bags outside of the garbage room because they already paid someone to clean up ma. Apa then? Pay maintenance fee for what? In a nutshell, you may have tenants paying over 2K for a fancy room in a hipster co-living space. But in the end, do you think they'll behave better? And now, as the co-living concept gets more popular, we see capsule hotels that are originally aimed at tourists now being marketed as co-living spaces. If that's considered acceptable for a short-term stay of even 3 months, how are we any different from, say, Hong Kong's cage homes? Plus, with our type of mentality and the stress of sleeping in a box, who's to say we won't start murdering each other? But I digress. Like I said, DBKL's idea of growing a young, vibrant community at the heart of KL is great, and co-living spaces offered by developers and entrepreneurs can be useful in a time of higher living costs and low salaries. But they're forgetting the most important factor that will make this trend a success. It's the people living in it. Are Malaysians willing to practice a little more consideration to keep their neighbours happy? Or does something major need to change so that we're no longer a developing nation with a third-class mentality? Something tells me it's the latter. Just saying.